Page 6, I want to hold your hand. I can't remember what we've covered and what we haven't covered, so who knows what's going on in my head. But on page 7, it looks like they're introducing you to an 8th rest. So I assume you have not had an 8th rest before now, because we do get it in this piece on page 6. And they show what it looks like. It gets the same value as an 8th note. The same. So whatever an 8th note gets, an 8th rest gets the same. Just make sure if you're hand drawing these rests, the little flag goes off to the left. This is my left, that's your left. You'll figure out which way's left. Because the symbol for when the flag goes off to the right is a different one. That's something else. So be careful on that. Make sure it goes to the left of the stem. Because if you're using a computer or something with the stuff already in it, you have to worry about it. But if you're hand drawing the symbols, make sure you do it. Now on page 7, they have some counting, some rhythm activities. I don't get too heavily into that. I like to use the pieces. I like to use the actual music. If there's something about the counting you don't understand on counting 8th notes, you might want to go back in the book, whatever book it was, where they introduced 8th notes and go through all that again. I simply put an and in between the numbers. So the beat gets a number, like in I Want to Hold Your Hand is 4/4 time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the beats. That's where the number is. And I put an and in between the number, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that indicates where the 8th notes would go. Well, all right. That's other people have slightly different methods. You use whatever method works for you, or your teacher will tell you what method they want you to use. That's fine too. But in these videos, I do a 1 and 2 and 3 and. So let's talk about this hand holding thing. 4/4 time. It has a pickup beat. We've had pickup beats before. We're coming in on beat 4. That means the first 3 beats of the measure should be someplace, because all 4 of them need to be there. In theory, they need to be there. And if you look at the very last measure at the bottom, it's got 3 counts in it. So that's the first 3 beats. Beat 4 is at the beginning. They split the measure, and they can do that sometimes. It just makes it all the funner trying to figure it out when they start splitting measures up. So let's cover the notes and the rhythms first. The right hand first. Make sure we got that all done. Right hand, you're starting out here on the A. Put you here. And it's 4 and. 4 and, 1 and, 2 and, 3 and. And you don't need the finger number. The 3 there, you don't need that. You're there anyway. Don't be reading these finger numbers unless it changes. And in this book, when it changes, they circle them for you. Music generally doesn't circle finger numbers. That's just something that Faber, or the author of this book, has been doing. So the second full measure is 1 and 2 and 3 and rest and. The next measure is rest and, or 1 and, 1 and. And during the rest, they want you to come down here. Just 1 key down, and that's fine. You can do that, I reckon. Don't have to. You could stay here and just bring the thumb down and use 1 and 2 on those if you'd rather. Because you got to come back up to this position for measure 4. So whether you come down and back up, this is a beginner's fingering where you're staying in a 5-finger position, you're moving around. This one coming down, you're stretching out a little bit, is getting a little more advanced. But hey, we can handle more advanced. If you want to try that, you can use a 1 and 2. I'll leave that between you and your teacher to decide. So I think I'm going to use the 1 and 2 because I like to stay where I am. I don't want to move around anymore than I have to. So the last measure, the first line is, rest on beat 1, and the first 8th note comes on the and of 1. 1 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then the left hand takes over. Going on, the second line is similar to the first line. Third line, measure 7. Now they want you to come up. During the rest, you come up 1. And this is okay because we have an E coming up in measure 8. An E way up here. That's an octave from this E to this E. So we're sort of in this position now. So measure 7 is 1 and 2 and 3 and go up. Yeah, I don't know if you understand what an octave is. I mean, if you're going to use these words, you need to understand what they are. An octave is simply the distance between the 2 notes is letter to letter. Like E to E, A to A, C to C, D to D, whatever. Those are they're called octaves. And I'll get more in detail as to why they're called octaves later. Just right now, know what an octave is. It's letter to letter. So you're going from this C up to this C. You just reach up. It's an important interval used. An interval. What's that? Well, that's the distance between two notes. I don't want to go more into it than that. It's just here. But it's a very important distance used in music, especially piano. We get octaves a lot, is what I'm saying. So eventually you'll feel what this octave feels like. You'll just feel it in the hand. You'll know what it is, and you'll be able to do it even without looking at the keyboard someday. So measure 7 is 1 and 2 and 3 and reach up. And that gets 4 counts, and then during the rest they want you to come down here. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Measure 10. Cross over, third finger. I don't know if you're doing scales yet or not. Probably not. When you get into scale C major, this is it. You cross over, just relax. Your hand will move if you'll just relax. And just third finger. Don't twist around or any of this junk. Just relax and come over. And then measure 11. Rest, but that's an octave now from C to C. Recognize that? So just reach up. 1 and clasp. Actually, you can if you want move, but when I see octaves like that, I just instinctively reach for them. And then I'll clasp. 1 and then thumb comes down and cross over. This way we can connect all the notes with the hands, or the fingers. I like to do that. And then 5, and then you repeat back up to the reverse repeat sign. Left hand, let's see what it's got going on. Down here, 1 and 2 and 3. I hope you understand the dotted rhythm there. The dotted quarter note. The quarter note comes on beat 1, and it lasts for a full beat. The dot after the quarter note comes on beat 2, and it gets half the value, so it's like an eighth note, and so it lasts a half a beat. So the 8th note comes on the and of 2. 2 and. 1 and 2 and. So it's a quarter note, dot, and. I don't know if I'm confusing you or not, but I'm having fun doing it, so let's go. The 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and then they want you to scrunch up and use third finger on the black keys here, and that's okay. That's actually, it works out very well here. So do that 3 and 2. This way we're in this position, and we need to be in this position for measure 4. So it's measure 4 then is 1 and 2 and 3 and rest. They say lift. What you just got to come down. Don't go way up high. Just just come down during the 4th beat. So measure 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That way you're down here. So during the rest you come down. 1 and 2. And then you're going to do that again. Measure 8. You got this chord. It's an E, a G, and a B. You don't know what the notes are, or the chord is, you just spell out the chord. Start with the bottom note, figure it out, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and whatnot. So you'll get them all here. So measure 8. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then come out. Just move the whole hand up. That's fine. Measure 10, stay where you are. 1 and 2 and 2. And then for the first ending, you got to come back down to C. C chord. Now for the second ending, it's an F chord and a C chord. Well, wasn't that delightful? Let's put the hands together and see what possibly can go wrong with this. You're here, remember, and here. So it's 1 and 2. See that you play the half note first before you play the 8th note. So it's 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. talk about this measure. We have, so it's 1 and 2 and 3, and then as I play the G again, that's the 4th beat, I left the right hand up here. So the idea, I hope. I might be getting a little fast because when you first put the hands together, you're going to hesitate all over the place. You're going to, you know, you're struggling here to get them. That's fine. Once you kind of get them together, sort of, maybe a little bit, then you go back through it, and this is the part that takes the time. Go back through and work on those trouble spots and get rid of the hesitation. So it's a steady beat. Slow's okay, but it's got a steady, and that can take a while. That can take days or weeks or whatever to work all that out. I'm not in a hurry, I don't care. Okay. But once you do and you can play the hands together without any hesitations, then we'll look at this articulation or the slurring and staccatos. Here, the lift up. You have to lift up between the rests. And I don't agree with Faber's slurring at all. I never have. I prefer to follow the words. And if it's a sentence or something in the words, I try to connect it. Like at the beginning, all of this to me is, yeah, I'll tell you something, all goes together. So I connect all that together as best I can. And the left hand, I suggest you just connect the left hand all the way through except for the rest and the staccatos. Just here. You can't connect repeated notes, but do the best you can. Just connect it all. Here. Now here, I would like a little silence between this measure 4. I'd like a little silence between the last 2 beats. Here and here. It's like taking a breath. Be careful on measure 10 and 11. Let's go look at this. Measure 10. Here. Measure 11. The left hand needs this note. Here. So you got to get off it a little early in the right hand so the left hand can play it. It needs the note. And then staccato. Hands at the wrist on the staccato, bounce off the keys. Now hold that down, it's a half note, and then repeat. So forth. And that's basically the articulation. They have a fermata at the last measure here. Just hold that out a little longer, what feels right. When I do it with a metronome, I'll just double the quarter note and I'll hold it for 2 counts instead of 1, and then I'll lift both hands up. That's not how you have to do it. That's just how I do it. Apparently you've had half steps before because they're talking about them down below. So I assume you know what a half step is. It's the shortest distance between 2 notes on a piano. It's 1 note to the next, up or down. The next note, white or black. So here, going up would be here. That's a half step. Going down, that's a half step. That's it. Half steps are important to keep in mind. Just know what they are, but they're telling you, you point out where the half steps are. And that would be in this second full measure of the first line, this part, this, they're next to each other. All of these are half steps. They're all half steps. Yeah, okay, I pointed it out. Mission accomplished. Now once you have the articulation down, we'll think about the dynamics. Now these dynamics I think are kind of a suggestion. Moderately loud, MF, mezzo forte. sort of loud, to the melody. Whatever you think, sort of, not loud, just sort of loud. Left hand needs to be soft. Can you play one hand sort of loud and the other hand soft at the same time? But on measure 4, that first note, that's melody, so you got to bring that out. So, and then these notes, soft, soft. To measure 8, the little hairpin there, the little sideways arrow. Now you're going to crescendo. You're going to get louder. Up to loud. That. Not the left hand has been soft. You come up to about a moderately loud here. So louder, moderately loud, and loud. First ending, they have another hairpin to get softer. Well, once you play a note on a piano, you got no control over it. It just does it. But the left hand, you can play the first one a little louder, or say about moderately loud or so, and then soft. And then you're at moderately loud again when you go back to the top like you were at the beginning. Something like that. Now in the second ending at the bottom, there's no crescendo or decrescendo or nothing. You're loud here, and you're staying loud. Well, these are sort of moderately loud to moderately soft. Keep them in the background. As I'm playing these in the last measure, I want to hear that note. Don't drown it out. And you're holding them out. Sort of the dynamics. You need to get to know it well enough you can feel the dynamics, because it's like at the beginning, the first 3 lines or so, you're not going to stay exactly moderately loud. You can get a little louder and softer as you feel it. You're just in that area. It's not an absolute value. Dynamics is not. Hardly anything in music is an absolute value. There's a few things, but not too much. Now, speed, well, it has to be accurate first. To play it with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'll do the staccatos and stuff, but I'm not going to do any dynamics. No louds or soft. I'm going to play both hands about the same. I need you to hear what's going on. You should be playing the same note I'm playing at the same time I'm playing it. That's all this is for, just to check that you have the right notes and rhythms. We're going to do the repeat also, so I'll give us 3 counts because we come in on beat 4. So I'm going to go 1, ready, go. That's 3 counts, and then we go. Now this is after you've learned it. Get it where you can play it without any hesitations or anything, and you got it fairly well, and then we'll check to make sure you got the right notes and stuff. 1, and ready, and go, and 1. like an ending now.